good old StreamYard. StreamYard is a great platform for doing this stuff. So censorship, though, is even back then. What did they do with Ron Paul? They censored Ron Paul, and that's how they were able to do it. And that's how they do it. Either they censor you, and if they're not able to censor you, then of course they just get rid of you in other ways. So that's what's going on here. You have also in Brazil, like in Brazil, they're doing really the exact same. They're basically they're silencing all opposition. And actually, our friend Mario Nafal, Mario he's an old crypto guy, so we all know each other. Mario said his space. So his space was, and I'll share my screen again. His space was censored in real time, and people were trying to listen to Mario on his space last night, and it was getting. They weren't able to listen, and I think I saw it in the comments here, but government censoring the space. So basically, people were trying to listen, and they weren't able to listen, and if they were already in, they were removed from the space. Yeah, here we go. Many listeners for Brazil are removed from the space or cannot connect. We cannot hear the spaces in Brazil at the moment. Hello, is there no audio? I'm in Brazil. No sound here in Brazil. All my Brazilian connections in Brazil, this is Mario saying this, cannot listen to the space. I asked them for them to try VPN after updating and see how it goes. So VPN, I think, will work.
The VPN business is going to be booming.
Well, there are some issues, though, with the VPN. I mean, yes, VPN, it can work and everything like that, but most of the time when you set up a VPN, it makes you click that little thing, and basically they can do whatever they want. So you might think that you're safe, but they're actually, I think they're able to record everything. So it's a double-edged sword. So yes, you can get past the censorship level, but also, unless, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure there's different ones, you open yourself up to some other stuff too. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But that type of censorship, and we're now at the very beginning of censorship. Not the beginning, but we're it's ratcheting up here in the U.S. My account as on X right now is censored. If you have selected that you don't want to see sensitive content, and you look for any of my posts, it will show you that none.
Maybe they're sensitive to your feelings.
Hold on. Oh, sorry. I had some audio that popped up there. It was pretty crazy. So yeah. And I hopefully like it happening, and then it wasn't happening, and then it was happening again. So hopefully that's just some AI bug, but doesn't make me feel good about anything. So the markets are pretty interesting. Let's bring on the great Matt Dixon, see what Matt has to say. I know oil is back down to 82. Gold is down considerably. Bitcoin had a nice pump yesterday, but it's kind of retraced a bit. Matt, make it all make sense for us.
Good morning. Morning, David, Bruce, everybody. Yeah, there's quite a lot of news coming up, actually, over the next few days. And we've got, obviously, the Fed meeting coming up on May the 1st. It's quite interesting, though, what you're talking about censorship. That's one of the themes I thought might be worth just discussing today. I'm just going to go on to present mode here. Let's just see. There we go. So you should be able to see my screen. I'll just go on to, let's see where I'm going to.
And this is pretty interesting. And just so you know, we are going to play the taco interview for the last 14 minutes of the show. But yeah, this is interesting. I saw you posted this.
Yeah, I posted this actually after you brought it to light on one of the shows. You mentioned Executive Order 6102. And it's basically the confiscation of gold back in May 1933, which was
crazy.
Absolutely crazy. But it just got me thinking, because have you heard of the repo bill?
I guess it rings a bell, but tell me.
I mean, basically, it's part of what's going on with Russia now, with the Russian bank accounts held in the US. There's $6 billion held in Russian accounts in the US. And the US are basically, there's presidential power to confiscate these accounts. And they're not only confiscating them, they're actually using that money, and I understand, going to be sending it to Ukraine for rebuilding purposes. And these will be for American contracts in Ukraine. So again, the abuse of centralized power is unbelievable. I mean, that is basically, that will be for American contracts. They're basically we're not talking about government money here in Russia. These are Russian, just ordinary people. So if by any chance you're unfortunate enough to be, from this aspect, to be born in Russia, America has the power under their laws now. They pass laws which enables them to steal your money, even if you're just an ordinary Russian citizen who has a bank account in America. They can steal your money and give it to effectively the people you're at war with.
Look at Kim.com. Kim.com never even came to the United States, and we stole all his money from his offshore accounts. Like, he never even came here, never had a business in the US or anything. We stole all his money.
Yeah. It's legalized theft.
Yes.
As we often see, it's all about legalized theft. And, this is where we talk about regulation. And I wanted to just look at the too big to fail. There's this thing about, banks and so on, and certain institutions are just too big to fail, and they get bailed out. But ordinary people, there's no chance of them being bailed out. The Federal Reserve, they can basically print money to bail themselves out. But if we get into financial difficulty, we just have to go down, we just suffer, we go bankrupt, and all sorts of pain and problems that we suffer. So there are definitely one rule for them, another rule for us, the ordinary people.
Yes.
So, we need to be aware of, these regulations. They actually, as I mentioned yesterday, I think you were actually already away by yesterday, but they really are stifling innovation. There's lots of really good innovations within projects, and regulation is not allowing it, stifling it. And yet regulation is still allowing the very worst abuses to go on.
Yep.
So it's undemocratic, and there's actually a war going on now between democracy, we could say between centralization and decentralization of power. And they are fighting tooth and nail to hang on to centralized power. We're talking about government, we're talking about the Federal Reserve, we're talking about the people who wield power. They're really trying to cling on to centralized power. But it's always this centralization of power that's caused all the disputes throughout history. And decentralization, which is actually putting the power into the hands of people, its true democratization, is probably the way forward, because then you're not going to have, these wars are created just by a couple of people, a few people in power who influence and lie to the nation and put people at war, ordinary people who don't even want to be fighting against each other. And so democratization is probably the way forward. Anyway, we'll jump into today. We've had some interesting. In fact, what I think, and the US are basically there's presidential power to confiscate these accounts, and they're not only confiscating them, they're actually. What's happening now?
The audio going?
Sorry.
Who's got the audio going? Huh?
I don't know how it was, but yeah, it's off now.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. It is absolutely crazy. And it's the way forward. If we continue to follow along, and if we let this stuff go on, is not good. Whether it's just repossessing or taking away people's assets, whether it's not letting them speak. I mean, these are things that we really have to push against, because that's
and I think we do need to speak up against it. As you say, this Twitter ban is absolutely crazy. They're just not allowing free speech, and that's supposedly, I thought, what America was built on, and it's just not. It's not happening. We've got the Fed, who are, again, they're in control. They're managing effectively the money is being managed. The printing of money, the interest rates, the economy is being managed by them, and apparently mismanaged. So we looked at this. I won't go into all of this stimulus, multiplier effect, all that kind of stuff, but just to re-emphasize again. We've got a Fed meeting coming up on May the 1st, and they're almost definitely, I think it's a 90-odd% chance they're not going to change rates yet again. And yet we are seeing the economy beginning to slow down, and we'll probably look at a couple of those. We've got PCE coming out, I think I think it's on Thursday. Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Anyway, very soon we've got PCE coming out, which is a measure of inflation. That's actually expected to pick up again. So that means that inflation is still really problematic and actually picking up, and it's been picking up now for some while. We've got GDP coming up again very, very soon, and that is falling off a cliff. We got a big reduction last time. We're going to get another big reduction by the look of it now. We forecast another big reduction in US GDP. So the economy is clearly slowing, but inflation is rising. So they've got a big problem. So we do have a future ahead of us where we're going to go back to these negative interest rates that we had. So they are going to have to lower interest rates. They're going to be forced to at some point. But the biggest thing that they usually want to tackle is inflation first. But I can actually tell you, even though inflation's sticky at the moment, inflation will be falling as the economy starts to slow, I believe. And if it doesn't, you have an even worse situation of stagflation. But whether that happens or not, if it does happen, it's absolutely horrendous. They won't have a way of tackling that. But if the economy just slows and we fall into recession, as we've gone past all these previous charts, looking at cycles of unemployment, looking at cycles of inflation, et cetera, and bond yields, inversion of bond yields, money supply, everything points to basically a recession coming. So that's why I've shown here, this is just this dotted line here, is showing interest rates, and that's what this shows here basically. The interest rates will be dropping, going negative, and that will allow a pump in some risk assets. And I think Bitcoin will be the one. So we're going to do a little bit of a focus. I know we haven't got much time today, but a little bit of a focus on Bitcoin and all the amazing fundamentals behind Bitcoin. So here's what I mentioned just before, talking here about PCE data coming out in just a few days' time. And you can see here increasing 2.5 to 2.6. That is one of the measures of inflation, basically personal consumption expenditure. So inflation is on the rise again. So you can see the past couple of months, January, February, looking to see another rise in March. So it looks like they thought they'd beaten inflation, and that's why the Fed was saying, oh, rates will be coming down. And they keep putting back these expectations of rate reductions because inflation is actually just beginning to take off again. This is reminiscent of the 70s, early 80s, when they thought they'd beaten inflation as inflation came down, and then it just started to take off again, and it got out of hand. So we don't know yet whether it's going to get out of hand or not, but I'm just saying it's a very serious warning sign that we need to take notice of. We've also got, this is the GDP I mentioned, again, dropping from, you can see it dropped from 4.9 in Q3, dropped to 3.4 in Q4, and then in Q1 we're looking at a drop from 3.4 to 2.5. So you can see GDP, gross domestic product, is falling very rapidly here. So this is basically the US economy is slowing down dramatically, and yet inflation is too high. So they can't lower interest rates to stimulate the economy, but they will want to stimulate the economy, but they can't, because inflation is the number one enemy that they have to deal with first of all. And we'll just, a couple of others, I won't go into everything here, but this is the picture that we had really of Bitcoin, that we've had this nice ABC down, a nice beginning to push up and expecting higher. So I suppose that leads us into where we are with Bitcoin at the moment. So apparently that chart we just showed was showing this big rise that we had to all-time highs here of 73,000, and then we appear to have had this corrective move in the form of an ABC move down. There's no impulsive waves there at all. It appears to be corrective and overlapping. So it looks like ABC down, and I think now we're probably pushing towards the upside. So it may have completed wave one, probably get a little bit of a wave two down, then wave three should ideally take us to new all-time highs. And then I suppose we need to just have a little think about the fundamentals that there are. What is actually going to drive us to these potential new all-time highs? So obviously we've got we've just had halving for a start. So with halving, we've got a diminishing supply. So that's amazing, positive aspect to Bitcoin. that the supply is diminishing, whereas with fiat and with all these other things, supply is increasing. And as I've mentioned a few times now, the stock to flow ratio of Bitcoin now is more attractive than that of gold. In other words, the amount of new gold coming to market in relation to the stock of gold that there is actually now that there's more new gold coming to market in relation to the existing stock than there is with Bitcoin. When you look at how much new Bitcoin is coming to market in relation to the existing stock. So Bitcoin has a better stock to flow ratio than gold. So in terms of a store of value, I mean, maybe not on every measure, but certainly on that measure, Bitcoin is now surpassing gold in terms of a store of value. And we're actually seeing, let's just see, gold has had quite a bit of a sell-off today. Bitcoin is relatively flat, but it's had a good time of late. Gold is that store of value, as we know, but it's really a good protection against inflation. But we would argue now that Bitcoin is probably even a better hedge against inflation because of that stock to flow ratio. That's very, very important. And the fact that it is secure and it can be stored and it's decentralized and it can't be stolen. I mean, we've seen in that 1933 Act that gold can be confiscated. Bitcoin can't be confiscated.
Right.
Because you can store it safely. You can store it in a cold wallet. Nobody needs to know you've got it even. It's, it is possible to earn Bitcoin anonymously. Not so easy these days. They're closing a few loopholes, KYC, etc. But this is all not necessarily good for everybody. We need to try to maintain.
Not good for freedom. It's not good for freedom, ownership, and privacy. All the things that we stand for in the blockchain community.
Yeah. So we've looked there at obviously the halving event, which is now passed. The next halving is in about 4 years' time, 210,000 blocks. But that has spawned this new wave of innovation where we're now looking at, we've had ordinals, of course, and now we've got runes. So this has spawned this new rune craze effectively, which again is going to be probably something. It's amazing because Bitcoin's always been that stable grandfather asset of them, but now with all these innovations, it's becoming so much more exciting. So I think Bitcoin can really enter a new phase of adoption based on so many things. So not just that it's a store of value and it now has its own ETF, a regulated approved ETF where money is flowing into it on a regular basis, and we now have the Asian ETFs. So the demand is going to just continue to grow and grow and grow. And as we just said, the supply, the new supply is just diminishing, dropping and dropping. So those are the metrics. Those are the things that drive prices. And if we see economic trouble coming around the corner, and by the way, another thing, I mean, I've just looked at the fundamentals. Obviously, if you think about technical analysis, just from a TA perspective, again, you can look at it in many different ways from a technical analysis perspective. I believe technicals are driven by fundamentals, but the fundamentals seem to be really solid. Bitcoin is well underpinned. It's got a solid foundation. Then the technicals are also looking really good. So this is some kind of just a retracement. It's a continuation pattern, really, meaning that the overall trend will continue, is likely to continue, highly likely to continue from a technical perspective, because the trend is higher. This is just a correction against the trend, and so we should continue that trend, because this is just basically a continuation pattern, a consolidation pattern. Just every market consolidates. When we've had such profits, we grew from, if I go on to the weekly and just show you very quickly, we grew in just such a short period of time, it's probably too big, from 15,500, wasn't it? If I go to, we were 15,500 with the FTX crisis. We can see it just a little bit further back. There we are, 15,500, the FTX crisis, and that low point was reached November 22. So we're what now, 18 months on? So from 15,000 to 66,000. So grown massively, 4x there. And you can very well see now that trends are punctuated by corrections. So you can see each of these quite strong uptrends where you got lots of green candles. They're punctuated by kind of slightly sideways movements down here, then again, strong movements upside, and then punctuated by choppy movement sideways, upside, choppy sideways, strong upside, choppiness sideways, strong upside here. And we're undergoing now a kind of choppy sideways movement. So the likelihood is, there are never 100% guarantees, but the likelihood is, from a technical perspective, just a very cursory glance at the chart is telling us that highly likely this is just a correction down. And even if the correction continues sideways a little bit longer, which it could potentially do that, but the outlook is for much higher. So I'm just really, really bullish. Probably, I mean, I've been bullish before, but there seems to be so many clear signals. And even if the American economy does hit a rock and runs into trouble with a recession or whatever, Bitcoin will get hit initially because people will have a need for cash. But longer term, I think Bitcoin is going to be the place where people want to go to store value, because they can spend it as well with gold. If you have your gold in storage somewhere, it's not as though you can actually spend it easily. You can't go and withdraw a little tiny chunk of gold to go and buy some food. But economies actually are currently running on Bitcoin. We've got economies that have had problems, financial problems, and they turn to Bitcoin, and people are actually using Bitcoin because you've got Satoshis, you've got these multiple decimal places. You can actually just use it with your mobile phone and buy a loaf of bread with a tiny fraction of a Bitcoin. So it is, it's getting more and more that monetary aspect to it, where it will be used, especially if the existing monetary system runs into more and more problems. So there are other things as well, but I just very, very bullish Bitcoin. And I think that, as they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. So I don't think it'll be Bitcoin alone. And, I'm sure we will get, obviously with Asia, we're getting the Ethereum ETF as well, but there will be others that will get approval for ETFs. And I don't know which ones will, in what order they'll happen. We may well get BNB could get approval as well after that quite quickly. But there are lots of assets that stand to gain from that. Gold, as we said, we've still got problems with inflation, but a lot of this gold, again, is possibly a little bit to do with manipulation, because as I said the other day, apparently Iran bought a lot of gold before they struck Israel with this 350 odd missiles. And it was pretty clear that, well, gold certainly did rise because people do fly to safety in times of trouble, and gold rose sharply. And actually now, I think they're taking profit. So it may just be a simple process of taking a bit of profit on the move that happened with the Iranian missile strike on Israel, which again, it didn't have any particular harmful effect, I don't think. So again, that's another reason people might sell off. But the interesting thing was that gold was rising before that event. Iran knew what they were going to do in advance, and apparently they were buying gold before the actual attack took place, and they profited from the rising gold. So it's just natural that they would want to crystallize and take some of those profits. But even so, the outlook for gold is still very positive. I think there's potentially plenty more upside to be had there, especially if inflation remains a problem. Gold again, that's not gold, sorry, oil appears to be in a consolidation. Again, we can see some sort of sideways consolidation. There's no very clear trend here. From the beginning of the year, they reduced new supply, which drove the price higher. But now economies are slowing down, and that reduction in supply doesn't appear to materialize. So that's why I think oil is falling. DXY is quite an interesting one. It's, again, it's not managed to break this overhead resistance at the moment, but that's quite an important level. If it breaks that, potentially it will go higher. But there's not, if the US economy really is slowing, there's not a lot of reason why the US dollar will continue, because the economy is slowing now. They want to be reducing interest rates, although inflation is a bit of a problem. So I think the US dollar is probably near some sort of turning point. And potentially, even if we push a little bit higher than here, I think potentially US dollar will begin to turn to the downside. That will be the stimulus for risk assets to rocket to the upside. So Where are we? I was just looking for, yeah, that's what I was looking for, the SPX. Again, a bit of a correction on SPX, but I don't think it's over yet. I haven't got all my technicals drawn in, but we did expect a little bit higher on SPX before we see a turn. Solana's bounced beautifully. Again, we can see some kind of corrective move down that we had there. This is looking very long-term, weekly. Probably best go daily on it. So we can see there, Solana appears to have had potentially an ABC correction to the downside, and we're beginning to move now to the upside. So most assets are moving in concert now. They've had a correction. They're chopping around these sort of areas, but I do think that the likelihood is, with it being a corrective move to the downside, and actually it's also on some kind of supporting trend line as well, long term, if you looked at that. I'll just draw it in very quickly. Somewhere, that kind of thing. Something like that. You can see we're pretty much set on that trend line. So potentially, I think there's every chance that Solana is going to push higher. And I think the next target.
Yeah, I mean, Solana is going to the moon.
Yeah, and I think
there's so much money behind it, and it really, I mean, when it functions correctly, anyway, it's easy to use and very low fees. Like you were saying, you can go in and out of coins on the DEXs and whatnot and really hardly notice.
It's functioning correctly, by the way. Now transactions are going through quite smoothly, which is a good thing. It's quite interesting to look at.
It's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, but the next target, and again, just very roughly, just throwing these trend lines on. They're not precise at all. It's certainly not a precise trend line there, but it's looking as though the previous all-time high was around 260, and I can quite see we could easily challenge that all-time high before we get the next potential correction. So I think there's a lot of scope for upside here. We're 150 now. If you get to 250, a big percentage increase. And the congestion has been sorted out. There's going to be further upgrades in the next 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And I think that Eric will be telling us more about that on Friday. He's going to give us some more. He's very close to Solana Foundation, and he's going to be telling us more about the updates and things that are happening, and a big fire dancer upgrade in September. So Solana is a really exciting chain to be watching, and probably one of the best. There's another one that I haven't got listed here. Ton might be worth looking at. Ton actually has the world record for the most transactions per second, and I think he did 103,000 transactions per second.
Wow.
When you compare that with Solana is currently sort of equal top fastest, and it has around about 4,000 transactions per second realistically. Technically speaking, or theoretically, it can do more than that, but Ton has the world record at 103,000 transactions per second, and it's actually been a really interesting asset. So it's one that we'll perhaps have a closer look at in the future. Maybe a bit like when I had a look at ICP with Bruce, we sat down and had a look at ICP, the amazing potential there, which was realized, because I think we were talking about it was only a couple of dollars at the time or something, and it's rocketed since then. Tom, maybe another one of those opportunities. So we'll take a closer look and perhaps we'll focus in on that. But I'm guessing, Bruce, you're probably desperate to bring your new guest on.
Well, we have a recorded interview. I have it queued up to start in exactly 1 minute at 40 in the broadcast. So, yeah, we as we get more and more in here, of course, more and more people want to come on. I may swing up to Montreal as well, either today or tomorrow, and cover this World Summit AI. I have some high-level meetings that came on the board. So talking to a couple other people, and I think that stuff will continue. And people like the show. They like tuning in. We give them a lot of good information, and it's really unbiased. I mean, of course, we're all good blokes, as they say in your home country.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting show. I listen to what both of you guys have to say. Very interesting. And yeah, I think we've also been reasonably accurate, to be fair. Since we started the show, we've given some really good indications as to what's happening in the market. And it's borne out really well with what has actually happened in reality. So yeah, look forward to your recording now then, Bruce.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have here, guys, we have the great player one, Taco. Taco. They say, hey, man, what's your real name? And he says, it's Taco. Taco, this guy's like a legend. He's a legend. Everybody knows him. He shows up at the events. He's wearing so much, lanyards, and he's got all the wristbands. And I mean, he's really interesting. I'll let him speak for himself. Here he is. Our interview this is at Paris Blockchain Week. Great interview. And we are back here at Paris Blockchain Week. Really awesome event. I know I keep saying it. I keep talking about the Louvre Museum. I keep talking about all the cool people. Speaking of cool people, I have with us here Player One Taco, the infamous Taco. I'm sitting there at the VIP dinner, and everyone's like, "Taco's here! Taco's here! Hey, Taco's! Did you see Taco's here?" So tell me a little bit, Taco, about what brought you here. I guess a little bit about OXD Gens and what brought you to Paris Blockchain Week.
So Paris Blockchain Week a few years ago was my first European conference.
Oh, wow.
My heart's always sort of been here, and it's always been amazing. Europe is sort of the meta right now on Web3 companies, as people are sort of trying to stay away from the US. And this is sort of, and that's just because of regulatory inconsistencies, rather than anything else. And there's just an amazing growth here, especially in France, and how France supports technology development. And, this is day 3 of Paris Blockchain, and it is still amazing.
It is still amazing, right? We got a big party tonight. Really impressed with as well. It's very much a business conference.
Yeah.
You go to Austin, you go to, Consensus now. Consensus was very much a business conference in the beginning, but now that's in Austin. It's kind of, there's a lot of other stuff. Yeah, it's a music scene. It's a party scene. It's very cool. More of a festival.
Yes.
Now.
It seems like almost all conferences are, with the amount of side events.
Yes. NFT NYC was unbelievable.
Yeah. There's over 300 side events right now for Token 2049.
Crazy. You going to Dubai?
I'm going to be in Dubai. Are you going to Dubai?
So it's still up in the air.
He's going to Dubai.
I have to go home. I have a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old daughter, and it's the daddy-daughter dance on Saturday. So I have to go home and do the father-daughter dance for sure.
Yeah.
And then I might get on the plane and meet you in Dubai.
Why else are we doing what we do?
Why else?
If it aren't not for father-daughter dances.
It's true. It's true. I missed it one time. They never let me live it down.
So then you have to make up for it.
That's not okay. But I was still doing somewhere cool.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a mythical figure in the space. It's true. And you have all the stuff to go along with it. Tell me a little bit about what brought you initially into the space.
So 2012, 2013, I started off as a Bitcoin miner because the Satoshi white paper just sort of really rang true to like my inner core of a mathematical formula that showed that it was better to do good than to be a dick. And everyone benefits from that. And so the core values I pulled out of that are consistency and transparency. So the consistent part for me, everyone knows me as Player One Taco or just Taco. And the consistency side is I always show up, sort of through my proof of attendance, proof of work.
Which VIP one do you want?
Yeah. What color is the band?
Which one is it today?
Yeah.
Do you know who I am? Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
I don't even do that anymore.
Of course not. You don't have to.
Yeah. No, you gotta be humble. Don't be a dick.
Of course.
So there's people like that in the space. They stick around for a while, but then they eventually always sort of roll out.
Of course.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way it works. I mean, so we've been at it for over a decade, right? We've been in for quite a long time. It's the space has evolved a lot. I was just one thing I see around the world is, of course, we all believe though in privacy. We believe in ownership, and we believe in freedom. It doesn't really matter where you go, whether you're in France or you're in Dubai or in the US or Latin America. All crypto degens, all crypto people pretty much believe in that.
Yeah.
And as a group, I think we're very powerful.
We are. And it's really cool to sort of see, and not only but censorship resistant.
Censorship resistant. We're about as censorship resistant as you can get.
and we try to be. And you know, finally, there's a big force sort of moving to the forefront in the political spheres.
Yep.
We're seeing that with like John Deaton running for Senate against Elizabeth Warren. We see different political parties changing, whether they're adapting crypto, blockchain, or they're like anti-crypto. You know, and it's really hilarious. As much as we sort of dislike the current political party,
Yep.
the White House still uses block cryptography to secure their press releases from deepfakes. They
How
just say
about
cryptography.
How about that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm there in DC. How about that?
You learned something new today. That means you can go to sleep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's been a long one.
It has been a long one. I've been sleeping fine, to be honest.
What's some of the coolest things you've seen here at Parents Blockchain Week so far?
So some of the coolest things, we went to this cigar and drinks thing last night. It was really one of the highlights. Hosted by Flair when talking. Thanks for having us. It was really nice.
Thank you. You know, it was one of those things I made Sunday and then worked it all out, and it was literally, it couldn't have been more perfect.
Right.
It's literally a 2-minute walk from here.
Not even.
And it's a 2-minute walk from my apartment.
Nice.
And it magically came together, and what was really cool was all the other connections that were made.
Yeah, no, it was a staunch group of guys that were there. There was a couple of girls too, but of course,
Yeah.
we were all the men usually smoking cigars, and it was a nice setup. And you know, it's stuff like that that really brings people together. We've done a lot of different events over the years, but that one, you know, hey, it was probably easy to put together. Have some cigars, brings everybody together, and then people went their separate ways. But I thought that was really nice. And then as well, the Louvre Museum.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
The private, whatever.
The private dinner, the string quartet.
They shut down the museum and they let us just have
Did you do the walk tour?
Of course. So we kind of went on our own.
Sort of scared to do it. Like, 'cause like I was like, I'm gonna like stick a sticker somewhere or something like that. Who knows what and so
we weren't supposed to do that.
Hey, the Mona Lisa's covered in glass.
I can't believe, right? Well, yes, that was really something else. So I went live.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I started recording, and then I thought, well, you know, you saw my Twitter. I have a lot of people on my Twitter, and so I thought, everyone's going to see this. And I don't know if you can normally just stream from the museum, but they're letting me right now.
They're not stopping me.
They're not stopping me, and so we streamed it, and I thought that was amazing. Those jewels and everything were absolutely amazing. You know, that's one thing I talk about too a lot, is that, you know, we're slaves and people don't even know it. Like when you die, like they tax everything you already paid tax on again. Yep. You can't even hardly leave anything to your kids.
And then your kids have to pay a secondary tax of value transference as well.
It's
crazy.
It's crazy. It should be illegal. It is illegal, but it's not currently, I guess.
It hasn't been fought far enough.
It hasn't been fought far enough. But when you get to people in royalty, you talk about the King of England, who I don't know if you saw, they put him on the new paper bills.
I did not see that.
Yeah, he's so proud. I want some paper bills. I want some Bruce bills.
Bruce bills.
He's regal.
I feel like we would be using Bruce bills and something else. I don't know where we would be using them.
How about some player one taco bills? That's what we need to do.
Token.
Taco token.
Yes.
I think you've thought of this before.
There may or may not be a taco token on every chain that has zero liquidity, you know, that I just make up for fun.
May or may not be there.
Yeah. Name a chain is probably there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what do you have coming up next? Daddy-daughter dance, but I'm talking about today. Last day.
Today, last day. Once we're done here, I want to do a walkthrough of which is kind of like one of our signatures. We show everybody kind of all the walkthrough of everything, the feel of the conference. So I want to do that. I guess there's the party tonight. I'm not really that excited about that, but maybe we'll go. Yeah. I want to get my ticket home and make sure I'm home. I mean, that's really kind of where I'm at. I rented an apartment up by Moulin Rouge.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
I was there this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. At 5 o'clock in the morning. It was closed, but I was walking past it. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I mean, the funny thing about Moulin Rouge area is that it is Moulin Rouge, and it's, you know, it's a very famous place, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on there, I'm sure. But it's actually compared to the cities that we're used to back home in America, pretty tame.
It is. It is pretty tame. The number one thing that I don't like about Europe is there's not a lot of trash cans.
There's not, but at least they have bathrooms. In America, they're like, no bathroom for you.
None.
And then if you go to the bathroom outside, you're a bad person.
Yep.
But I mean, what are they supposed to do?
Yep.
I mean, in the middle of the parks, you go up and Randy, my good friend here, he's like, oh yeah, you probably pay €1 or something. Yeah, probably. We look at it. And you just hit the button, it opens up, you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It used to cost. Well, I know Amsterdam.
So when I first got here Monday, I was walking past a bar to go use the restroom. It had one of the old things, but the bartender, he just handed me. They have these hand cut plugs. Yeah. You know, so yeah. It's sort of cool.
You're a nice guy. So how about you? What do you? We have about a minute and a half.
I'm heading home, or I'm heading to London tonight. I'm going to London, and then Sunday I'm flying to Dubai, Token 2049, ETH Dubai, Solana Hacker House, and like 4 other conferences.
Yep.
And yeah, mind if I give something away?
Do it.
So this is a first come, first serve. Whoever scans the QR code. There you go. That is some crypto. And to prove that no one else can get this.
Oh, look at that.
No one else can get it. So first come, first serve.
That's awesome, guys. Well, there you have it right here. And the great Player One Taco. We have a couple more minutes. The OX Degens.
So 0x Degens is my company I started about 3 years ago. We're strategic advisory SME for Web3 projects. Currently, I'm contracted and I work with Sweep Protocol. We're metastable built on OFT technology, layer 0. So we're trading tokenized securities. My big company that I work for is Manifest and the Lifted Initiative. That's distributed compute and decentralized AI. We work really heavily with Morpheus AI and 6079. And then I work for Raise Finance, helping projects raise funds. And then I do a lot of cool stuff with CPU Coin, distributed compute power, doing amazing things.
The great Player One Taco. You can find him just like that. I won't even tell you. Just look Player One Taco.
Yeah. I run a daily radio show on Twitter, and, we're going to be doing more of this.
We're going to be doing more of this.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, there you have it, folks. The great Player One Taco. It's Taco Tuesday. I said, you want us to play the interview on Monday or Tuesday? He goes, play it on Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. I said, okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, man.
Really great guy. Yeah, I look forward to doing more with him. He is loved by everybody. You know, one of those guys, right? Everybody likes him.
I think
That's cool.
Was that his first conference that he went to?
Ha 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 ha. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a character. So we'll do some more stuff with him. If you want to get a hold of him, that's easy to do. If you want to scroll your screen back and look at that QR code that he put up, you can get some free crypto. First come, first serve. Randy already tried to get it, but he didn't get it in time. He was like,
don't show Randy.
While we were doing it, and then I
that is the first time it's been broadcasted, so get out there and screen it.
That's right.
Sweep those keys.
Sweep those keys. And if you don't have any crypto yet, it might be a fun way to get your crypto to start off with. So good stuff. Another great show. We will be back in a few hours. I may head up to Montreal. I'm fingers crossed. I kind of feel like I need to go. I need to go to Toronto as well. I need to meet some guys up there. So we'll see if I can put that together. And we will be back on your TV sets in 5 hours.
Stay tuned to stay lucrative.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.